You ever notice how the folks most obsessed with community values are the first ones to trample on yours? Yeah, that's exactly how it started, with a woman named Karen Middlesworth, president of the Pine Valley Estates HOA, standing at my old fence line on a blazing August morning, pointing at my granddad's cattle like she was delivering a verdict from the Supreme Court. She had this navy blazer on, crisp, sharp, never mind that it was already pushing 90 degrees by 10 a.m., and a clipboard gripped in both hands like she might use it as a shield if the cows got too close. Her whole face was set in that expression you only see on people who've never been told no in their adult life. You know what I mean? That's when she hit me with, "Sir, your cattle are trespassing on HOA property." My cattle, on my land, grazing in the same pasture they've known since before there was a Pine Valley Estates. I didn't even look up from the fence post I was fixing. I just said, "You mean my cattle on my land?" The wire cutters in my hand felt like the only solid thing between me and the insanity she was about to drop. Karen, though, she just scoffed, eyes narrow, all business. This entire eastern section is now part of Pine Valley Estates expansion zone. We've officially annexed it through Resolution 12G. She said it like she was reading gospel. The vote was unanimous. I stood up slow, stretching my back, giving her my full attention for the first time. I could see the sweat beading under her hairline, but she didn't flinch. "Did you hold that vote before or after I transferred your lakefront properties to a telecom company?" Her face just crumbled. Color drained out of her so fast you'd think I'd pulled the plug. But let me back up a sec, because, honestly, this whole mess didn't start at the fence line. It started with Pine Valley popping up like some kind of manicured mushroom next to land my family's worked for 3 generations. My name's Marcus Danvers. I'm not the type to go looking for trouble, but trouble seems to know my address by heart. I inherited the Danvers Ranch 42 years ago, 2,500 acres of rolling hills, clean streams, and the kind of sunrises that make you forget the world's as crazy as it is. The only sounds most mornings are the cattle lowing and the hawks wheeling overhead. Then, about 15 years back, Pine Valley Estates appeared on our border, cookie-cutter mansions, fake lakes, more rules than a military base, and an HOA president who made community enhancement her full-time religion. Now, Karen, she's a legend in her own mind. Former county tax assessor, early retiree, the kind of woman who'd wear a turtleneck in July and carry color-coded pens for every mood. Once, she fined a neighbor for a birdhouse painted the wrong shade of green. True story, difference was invisible to the naked eye, but that didn't matter to Karen. She saw my ranch as underutilized potential. I saw it as home. The trouble hit full speed when Karen discovered our boundary lines tangled up behind her retention pond. Any sane person would have checked the surveyor's office, maybe knocked on my door, maybe even baked a pie. Not Karen. She went straight to adverse possession protocols, which is just HOA talk for, "We're going to take your land if you blink." I'll never forget the Tuesday I found a landscaping crew laying out a hiking trail through the middle of my east pasture, solar lights, benches, even a plaque dedicated to the visionary leadership of the Pine Valley Estates Board of Directors. That one stung. I asked the foreman, a sunburned guy who looked as tired of Karen as I was, "Who said you could build here?" He just shrugged, held up a Pine Valley work order. "Supposed to be community land now, ribbon cuttings Friday." That night, I knocked on Karen's door. She answered in a full business suit, bun wound so tight you'd swear she was prepping for battle. "Marcus," she said, "I assume you've seen our project. Seen your illegal construction? If that's what you mean," I shot back. "The HOA board has voted to incorporate that land. It's all perfectly legal." She was smiling like she'd just cornered me. I actually laughed out loud. Couldn't help it. "Karen, you can't just vote to take somebody's property." She didn't even blink. "Actually, we can. I've researched adverse possession statutes, municipal incorporation. This land's underutilized, so we have the right to claim it for community benefit." She handed me a folder stuffed with resolutions and county notices. Looked impressive, felt about as solid as a paper napkin in a hurricane. Next morning, I took my tractor out and removed every trail marker, every solar light, every bench, and stacked it all nice and neat on Karen's driveway. She was waiting, hands on hips, face the color of an overripe tomato. "You've just vandalized community property," she threatened, waving her phone. "Go ahead, call the sheriff." Let's meet at the county surveyor's office, settle this with real records. Instead, she called her lawyer. Within days, I had a certified letter. Pine Valley Estates was suing me for destruction of community property, trespass, and interference with municipal improvements. They wanted $3,000 in damages, too. My attorney, Jim Hendress, a local legend who's never lost a boundary dispute, actually laughed when he read the paperwork. "Marcus, this is the most creative fiction I've seen in 30 years. Don't worry, this is going nowhere, but brace yourself, she's not stopping." Jim was right. The judge tossed the case before I'd even had a chance to break in my new boots. Karen wasn't done. She appealed, filed with the County Planning Commission, tried to get me busted for unlicensed cattle operations, environmental violations, even started mailing violation notices addressed to my cattle. Yes, a process server literally tried to hand legal papers to Thunder, my 1,200-pound Angus bull. Wish I'd gotten video. When she ran out of local agencies, Karen went nuclear. She accused me of grass tax evasion, claimed I'd hidden barns to dodge property taxes. County assessor checked, found nothing. Karen demanded a public hearing on systematic agricultural fraud. So there we were, Thursday morning, county courthouse packed. Karen rolled in with binders, an easel, PowerPoint. She looked ready to defend the moon landing. 20 minutes in, she's got aerial photos, impact charts, a timeline of my supposed regulatory defiance. One commissioner finally stops her, asks if she's actually checked the real property records. Karen bluffs, says the records may not reflect current unauthorized use. My turn. I stood, told them my family's owned and taxed every inch for 3 generations, showed the dismissed lawsuits, photos of the process server chasing my bull. Commissioners took one look, shut Karen down. Homeowners associations don't create property rights. The chairman said, "This hearing is over." You'd think that'd be the end, right? Nah, Karen had one last move. 2 weeks later, I get a call from a nervous real estate guy, David Chun. "We purchased 40 acres adjacent to Pine Valley from the HOA, but the county says it belongs to you." I had to sit down. Karen sold my land. Or tried to. The paperwork was a masterpiece of fraud. Fake surveys, forged tax docs, even a falsified deed. But her big mistake? She used real survey coordinates. So the land she sold wasn't Pine Valley's, it was mine. I called Jim. He nearly choked on his coffee. "Marcus, that's criminal. Call the DA." Before I called the law, I hit the courthouse myself. There, in a dusty folder, was the detail Karen missed. When Pine Valley was built, the developers forgot to buy out water rights under the lakefront homes. My grandfather had snagged those rights 40 years ago. Translation: I owned a 12-acre strip running under their most expensive properties, the kind of legal loophole that keeps lawyers up at night. Jim's eyes went wide. You could force them to buy the land, sue for back payment, or lease the land to someone who really values it. And I'll admit, I felt a little spark of mischief. I called a few telecom companies. Within days, I had a 20-year lease deal for cell towers, $50,000 up front, $10,000 a month, with full rights to build right in Karen's backyard. All perfectly legal, all above board, all thanks to Karen's own paper trail. I reported her fraudulent sale to the DA, sued the HOA, and sent certified letters to every Pine Valley resident letting them know, "Hey, you might want to check whose land you're living on, because I'm about to exercise my rights." Panic spread like wildfire. Karen called, shrieking, "You can't do this. Those are people's homes." "Karen, I'm just following the law, like you said." The press got wind. Suddenly, the story was everywhere. HOA president's land grab backfires. Front page, local TV, even regional news. Karen lost her job, her reputation, and, in the end, her freedom. The state charged her with fraud, forgery, and theft. The HOA fired her, Chun Development sued her, and the state revoked her tax assessor's license for good measure. I watched as the telecom towers went up, red lights blinking over Karen's lake, diesel generators humming through the night. Property values cratered, for sale signs popped up, and Pine Valley's once pristine lakes reflected nothing but cell towers and regret. A few neighbors even apologized, said they wished they'd spoken up sooner. Karen tried to sell her place, couldn't give it away. The judge handed down 3 years in prison and a mountain of fines. Karen never showed a hint of remorse, even as she was let out in handcuffs. still convinced she was right, still blaming everyone but herself. And as I watched her go, I thought, this is what happens when you put power in the hands of people who don't understand what it means to own something, to care for it, to fight for it when someone tries to take it away. But the truth is, Karen's downfall wasn't just about me or my ranch. It was about every little power play, every fake rule, every time somebody gets pushed around because one person thinks their vision of community should trump everyone else's rights. Makes you wonder, where do you draw the line between protecting what's yours and letting the so-called community bulldoze over it? So what do you think? Did justice get served? Or was this just one mess trading places with another? Ever tangled with an HOA, a neighbor, or somebody who thought your property was just waiting for their grand plan? Drop a comment below, tell me your story, or just rate this saga from 1 to 10. I'm dying to know, what would you have done if you'd been in my boots?